What's up, everyone? We are back at it today with another NCAA basketball slate. Today is Monday, March 11th. We're coming at you with a bunch of NCAA basketball picks. It's not a very long slate, but we're going to dive in there. We've found some value. I think we've got some solid picks on this board. We're going to jump right into it. All of our picks are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. That's where you can get all of our top confidence picks and predictions on every major sport. Slam that thumbs up button, guys. Yesterday's video got 250 likes. Hopefully we can beat that number today. I believe in us. Monday can be better than Sunday. Let's get in there and find some bets where we can make some money. All of our picks are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Get over there and check out all of our top confidence plays. The link's down in the description. You guys know what to do. NCAA basketball, NBA, anything you got, put it down there in the comments and I will give you all the research that I possibly can, letting you know whether I think that bet is a good bet or a bad one. Any comment you want to leave down there, I respond to every single one. Hit that subscribe button. We're closing in on 13,000 subscribers. It's completely free, and I know around 80% of you aren't subscribed. Go ahead and hit that button. It's the best way to make sure you don't miss out on our daily content. Now let's jump into our first game of the day. Townsend going up against Charleston. This is the first game of the day. Townsend comes into this one looking pretty solid. They beat UNCW yesterday by 10 points. They advance to the CAA semifinal here in the conference tournament. They get to take on a pretty tough opponent, but we can look at Townsend for a little bit. They've been playing relatively well headed down the stretch. They've won 3 of their last 4. This team does not really play that well on offense, though. They only put up 66 points in their win on Sunday. They only average 67 points per game for the season. They're solid on the boards. That's something that's definitely a little bit of a concern in this game, but their defense is also a concern. They're a pretty solid team. They don't allow a ton of points, but they haven't really played the toughest schedule. Obviously, they only finished the season in the CAA ranked in about 5th place. They're definitely a step down from teams like Drexel and Charleston. They're better than the Stony Brooks and the Monmouths of the conference, but they're really nothing super special. Their leading scorer is putting up only 11 points per game on under 40% shooting, so we can tell this squad doesn't really have any superstar power on the roster. They have been relatively good against the spread this season, but nothing extremely special. Like, we're not really concerned about this team too much. They're not a squad that probably came into this season with NCAA tournament bid type aspirations. Charleston, on the other hand, has definitely been planning on going dancing all season long. They come into this game winners of their last 10 in a row with a blowout win at Townson mixed in there, so that's a very comforting trend. We see Charleston as clearly the best team in the CAA this season. They've had this thing clinched for a little bit. This squad puts up a ton of points. They're scoring well over 80 per game. They really crash the boards well, so that kind of cancels out one of the strengths of Townson. We don't really think we're going to see Charleston get dominated on the boards. This Charleston team plays pretty solid defense. Overall, the Cougars are just a very, very good team. They've got solid guard play. They've got solid everywhere. Just pretty much everybody on this roster can really find some way to contribute to winning. They're coming to this game fresh off a blowout win over Monmouth. I think we're going to see Charleston get a very comfortable win in this one. They're only minus 4.5. That's not enough points right here. We're taking Charleston minus 4.5. I think they're going to win this one walking away. Next up, we're going to look at Santa Clara against number 23 St. Mary's. They're playing in the West Coast Conference Tournament. They're in the semifinal round. Santa Clara comes into this game fresh off a blowout win over USD. Before that, they won over San Francisco. So they've been playing pretty well down the stretch. Santa Clara has actually been insane this season, going 18-11-2 against the spread. That's a very noticeable trend. This team has clearly been overall just underrated by the odds makers. They're very good on offense. Their rebounding is a huge strength, though. This team can really crash the boards. The last time they went against St. Mary's, they did lose by 5. That was on the road at St. Mary's, but they actually managed to edge out the Gales in the rebounding battle. That's very impressive, going against a ranked opponent to win on the boards. That's definitely a point in Santa Clara's favor here. St. Mary's comes to this game fresh off of a loss to Gonzaga, a blowout loss, so we find them in something of a bounce back spot. That's a little bit of a concern if we were leaning towards Santa Clara. St. Mary's is a good rebounding team. They're elite on defense. They don't really have a ton of star power on this roster, but that's not really their style of play. They got a blowout win at Santa Clara early in the season and then a very close win at home against Santa Clara, so that's a little bit concerning. Do we think that St. Mary's is really going to be earning a blowout win in this one? Obviously, it's their first conference tournament game so far. They're ranked in the top 25, so they can feel very confident about getting an at-large bid, even if they don't make it all the way into winning the WCC tournament. And they've already beaten Gonzaga once this season, so are they really going to be that determined to make it all the way through and meet up with Gonzaga in the tournament final? Hard to say. In this one, it's not going to be our biggest bet of the day, but we definitely like Santa Clara plus 9.5 in this one. Santa Clara is 18-11-2 against the spread overall this season. That's a pretty good number. They've shown they can hang with St. Mary's on the boards. I think they find a way to keep this game very close. Give me the points in this one. Next up, we're going to look at the late game on the schedule. We're looking at San Francisco taking on number 19 Gonzaga. This is once again in the WCC tournament. San Francisco comes in this game fresh off a blowout win over Portland. This squad has been very solid this season. They're not completely reliant on the 3 ball anymore. They are putting putting up 78 points per game. That's a solid offensive production right there. They haven't had a great time going against Gonzaga. They just got blown out by them by 18 points only a couple weeks ago. San Francisco is not a good rebounding team at all. They really need to be making their shots. They do play some better defense, so that's kind of a point in their favor, but are they good enough to slow down Gonzaga? It did not look like it in that game. Gonzaga, on the other hand, comes into this one playing some of their best ball of the season. They've won 8 straight games, including a big win over St. Mary's and a huge win on the road at Kentucky. The Zags haven't been that great against the spread all season, but they are a great team. This is one of the best offensive squads in the nation. They can really crash the boards. Their defense is stingy. They've got a solid leading scorer in Graham Ike. He's putting up almost 17 points per game, and he's shooting 62% from the field. Those are stellar numbers. I think we see the Zags come out, take care of business in this one. They're going to be looking to win this conference tournament. They did not win the regular conference crown for the first time in God knows how many years, so we're going to take the Zags -8 in this one. Next up, we're headed to the Big Sky. We're looking at Montana State going against Weber State. This is the Big Sky Championship quarterfinal. Montana State comes in this game playing relatively well. They have won 2 of their last 3. One of those losses was a crazy game where they lost by 4 points against the best team in the conference in overtime. Absolutely insane game. They kind of got unlucky to lose that one. It looked like they were going to pull it out, but that did not end up happening. This squad's season-long numbers are kind of an illusion because they've been such a different team here down the stretch. They just beat Weber State their last time out. Their last game was this exact same matchup. They were playing at home against Weber State and they beat them by 12. Montana State dominated the second half of that game. They won the rebounding battle, not by a ton, but they definitely had an edge on the boards. They shot the ball extremely well from 3 and they played great defense. Looking at Weber State, the Wildcats come into this game fresh off that loss, and before that, they hadn't been playing a very tough schedule. They did get an absolutely crazy win over Eastern Washington, but I think that was a little bit of a fluke. They have a monster leading scorer in Dylan Jones. That's a big problem, but this team is not good on the boards. Their offense is good, their defense is fine, but their rebounding weakness is a big concern. We see Montana State getting 6 points in this game. We see that Weber State is a terrible 12-16 against the spread this season. Give me Montana State and the points in this one. I think they find a way to at least keep this game close, and if you wanted to sprinkle the money line, I've got absolutely no problem with that. Let's look at a Horizon League matchup. In this one, we're looking at Milwaukee versus Northern Kentucky. Milwaukee comes into this game fresh off of a win at Green Bay. Very solid win. The Panthers have been playing some of their best ball coming down the stretch this season. They've won 5 in a row. 2 of those wins were over Green Bay, a team that we thought was going to be good. They kind of had the wheels fall off here at the end, but regardless, this Panthers team is playing some very solid basketball. They're averaging almost 80 points per game. Their defense hasn't been great all season long, but it's been better here down the stretch. Their rebounding is very, very good. They're about to go up against a team in Northern Kentucky that they're 1-1 against this season with 1 very close win and 1 blowout loss. Northern Kentucky comes into this game fresh off a win over Wright State, an extremely close 2-point game. That was a crazy one. Marquez Warwick is an absolute monster. He's their leading scorer and he's putting up over 20 points per game. He's not the most efficient shooter, but he finds a way to get the ball into the basket. The last time these two teams meet, we saw Northern Kentucky play absolutely terrible, and they only lost by 1 point. Earlier in the season, they dominated this matchup. I think we're going to see something closer to that in this one. Northern Kentucky is 17-13 against the spread this season overall. That's a pretty solid number. They're going to have the best player on the floor in this matchup. I think that gives them an additional edge. We're going to go ahead and take Northern Kentucky -1 in this one. I think they find a way to survive and advance in the Horizon League tournament. Now we're going to head back to the Big Sky. We're looking at Portland State taking on Montana. Portland State comes into this game fresh off a win over Idaho, but before that, they've been struggling a little bit. They lost 3 straight coming into that win. This team hasn't really been able to get over the hump. Their offense and defense just aren't quite good enough to be generating a ton of wins. Their rebounding is mediocre. They don't have a great go-to scoring option. That's why they've been kind of mired in the middle of the Big Sky standings. They have not been able to break into that upper echelon with teams like Northern Colorado, Montana, or Eastern Washington. Montana comes into this game fresh off another win. They've actually won 5 of their last 6 overall, with the only loss coming at Eastern Washington. This team isn't amazing on the boards, but their offense is very solid. They have a good leading scorer in Ainen Moody, and they've had success in this matchup. Only a few days ago, they won by 9 at home against Portland State, and we've seen that Montana is pretty good against the spread. They've been undervalued all year long by the odds makers. Montana is 17-11 against the spread. We're going to take Montana -6 in this one. They find a way to get the job done. They're not going to waste what was a very good conference schedule where they lost only 6 games and finished second in the Big Sky. Give me Montana -6. They survive and advance in this one. Last but not least, we're going to look at Cleveland State against Oakland. These two teams are matching up in the Horizon League semifinal. Cleveland State comes into this game fresh off a third straight win, but 2 of those wins were over IUPUI, one of the worst teams in college basketball, so we're not exactly going to throw them a parade about that one. Cleveland State has played better down the stretch here. We're not going to act like they haven't, but when you look at the teams they've been taking down, their wins lose a little bit of their shine. This is not a good rebounding team. They're decent on defense, but nothing special. Like, we're not going to write home about that. The real reason to worry about Cleveland State is their star player, Tristan Enaruna. He's scoring 20 points per game, shooting 50% from the field, but if you can find a way to stop him, you've effectively shut down this entire team. Oakland comes into this game playing pretty well. They've won their last 2 in a row. One of those was over Detroit Mercy, and the other was over Purdue Fort Wayne, so those weren't exactly stellar wins, but they're wins nonetheless, and before that, they were racking up wins left and right. The most recent time these two teams faced each other, we saw Oakland come away with an 83-71 win. The Golden Grizzlies absolutely dominated the boards in that game. They got to the line a bunch. They didn't shoot the ball particularly well from 3, but they still managed to get a blowout win. Oakland is 20-12 against the spread this season. We are going to go ahead and roll with Oakland -5.5 in this one. I think they find a way to get a dominant win. They've been the better team against the spread all season long. They blew them out the last time they matched up. Give me Oakland in this one. That's all the games we have time for today on this very short Monday slate. Get down there in the comments. Let us know what you think of these picks. Let me know what picks you're considering for today. I'll give you my absolute best advice with all the information I have at my fingertips. Get over to stumpthespread.com to see our top confidence plays on all major sports. We've been killing it over there lately. So get in there, get signed up for our free email list, see what offerings we got over there. We're running lots of specials right now with March Madness coming up. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos. We will see you guys tomorrow for more NCAA basketball action.